Okay, now that we got out of the way, let's get things started. And the first story that I have for you today is something in which that it's actually the biggest story of this week that actually had people both very surprised and not surprised at the same time. It was the kind of story that we all looked at it and we were just thinking, what? Like, are you for real, Disney? But then again, people also looked at this and thought, well, that's actually not surprising. Because of course Disney would do something like that. And what I am referring to is about The Lion King. Now, of course, if you're listening to this, then I am guaranteed for a fact that you have seen The Lion King before. You know the songs, you know the story. It's a legendary masterpiece in animation. One of the most popular and most beloved animated films that has ever been made, either ever or just by Disney. But still, everybody knows about The Lion King. It's one of those movies that basically, by social law, you gotta know what The Lion King is. Like, you will be hunted down in a public area if you don't know any of the songs like The Circle of Life, or if you don't know what Hakuna Matata means. But what I am referring to is apparently Disney wants to go and make a live-action reboot to The Lion King. Yes, we all know about Disney's ever-growing giant pile of movies that they took from their animated classics and decided to turn them into this big budgeted live action reboot. They've previously done so with movies like Alice in Wonderland, Sleeping Beauty with Maleficent. They did it with Cinderella, and just recently they have done it with The Jungle Book, which was a huge success, almost made $1 billion. They did it once again with Alice in Wonderland, with Alice Through the Looking Glass, which is the worst one of them all. And then they also did it with Pete's Dragon without actually doing it based on Pete's Dragon, funny enough. But, so far, they have announced this, and that's all it is. It's just an announcement. There are only 3 things in which we can confirm about what they're doing with it. Number 1 is that this is Disney's top priority. Going into my source here on Deadline, it states, the film is being fast-tracked to production, although no dates has been disclosed. And so we know that they want to go and get it out as soon as possible. So from what I'm predicting is that there's a very high chance we'll be expecting a 2020 release at the latest. I want to say 2019, but that would be a little too soon, considering that we are closing in at the end of 2016. Well, at least as I'm recording this. Number 2 is that we actually do have a director. They are bringing back Jon Favreau, considering that he has done a phenomenal job both critically and financially with his remake of The Jungle Book. They decided why not, they're going to bring him back once again to go and work on The Lion King. I guess he'll do that simultaneously as he is going to work on the sequel to The Jungle Book, which apparently they're going to make as well, which honestly is equally as confusing. Like, I understand the reboot of The Jungle Book, but why make a sequel to that? But then, the third thing also that we can confirm is apparently going back into my source here. Disney's latest reimagining is the upcoming Beauty and the Beast. In similar fashion to that film, the live-action Lion King will include songs from the original animated pick. So those are the 3 things that we can confirm so far. Is that this is Disney's top priority, and we could probably be seeing it pretty soon in the next few years. Jon Favreau is going to be attached to it, and that there is going to be, and that the movie is going to be a musical. And pretty much it confused everybody. Like, I don't know if I've seen people who are as excited, but actually, no, there are a few that are pretty positive. I wouldn't say that, oh my god, like, I wouldn't say people are like, oh my god, this movie is gonna be amazing. This is the greatest news that I've ever heard in a long time. No, that's not necessarily the case. Like, it confused people and sometimes it charmed people. that's basically the whole gist of it. Even I was pretty confused. Like, a friend of mine actually messaged me about this, and I was like, what the fridge? It's like, I look at Disney and I'm like, really? And I decided to give a bit of thought into this news, and I could see it in both ways, how this idea could work and how this idea could not work. So let me just begin with the ideas that basically do not work. Now, going back into the different live-action reboots that Disney has done, even though that technically we are just starting, they have not necessarily have the best track record. And I think 2016 kind of proves it, where we got 3 of them, and only one out of the 3 came out on top. That came out memorable. That actually came out as good. The rest, well, they're pretty much either forgettable or absolutely stupid. And I think the biggest damage that we have seen are the ones that were written by Linda Wolverton. I'm talking about the 2010 Alice in Wonderland, and by the way, yes, I technically do count that because that's the one that started this entire trend, considering that it has made $1 billion at the box office. There was also Maleficent, and then there was also the recent Alice Through the Looking Glass. And all 3 of them have in common, and that's why I mentioned Linda Wolverton, because she wrote all 3 of them. And the worst thing about these movies is the writing. It's just absolutely stupid. It is confusing, and you can tell how it absolutely forces in this message of pro-feminism, which absolutely does not work, and it actually makes the movie a lot more weaker. So overall, like, she used to be a good writer with the Lion King actually, and Beauty and the Beast, but then she started to change, and somehow I guess she went crazy and she wrote these disasters. And even nowadays, Disney is looking at them and, like, they want to forget Maleficent, but they don't necessarily, they're not going to forget Alice in Wonderland, but you could tell that for now they definitely prefer the animated feature than that. And, like, if The Lion King comes out as equally bad as those films, then we're gonna be in trouble. Like, and honestly, looking into it, it's like the Beauty and the Beast reboot that's coming in next year. Because the thing is, okay, it's fine if you're gonna go and remake movies like Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty or even The Jungle Book. Those are movies in which people are going to look back and say, technically those aren't perfect animated features, but you know what, they're still animated classics and they're still great films regardless. Like, they're great movies, but they do acknowledge that they're not the best ones. They do have a little bit of flaws. So that's why people are more okay that they would take those films and they would remake it. The Lion King, on the other hand, along with Beauty and the Beast, we're talking about animated masterpieces. These are some of the closest things that you would find to a perfect animated film. These are something that is pretty much in everybody's conscious mind, and we all remember them by how phenomenal that they have. That's pretty much how it's been made. We all remember the story. We all remember the lovable characters. We all remember the innovative animation that they pulled off. And we all remember the songs. Oh, absolutely, we all know the songs. Name me one it's pretty rare to find someone who cannot sing any Lion King song or even a Beauty and the Beast song. Basically looking into this, why go fix something that isn't broken? Why not just leave The Lion King as it is? You don't have to make another one, because there's an extremely high chance, more than 95%, that it will not be as good as the original. And that's basically the biggest issue with it, is that we're talking about one of Disney's best animated films. How can you go and top that with a live-action reboot? And speaking of which, considering that they are going to make this as a live-action reboot, what kind of direction are they going with it? That one is still remained a mystery, because when you look back into all the other live-action reboots that Disney has made, they all feature people. These are movies that feature people or human-like creatures like fairies and stuff like that. The Lion King holds absolutely 0 humans. How the fridge are you going to do that? Are you going to go and do a Walking with Dinosaurs style animated feature where you're going to film the backgrounds like real life, where you're going to go in Africa and you're going to take pictures of the savannah and you're going to take these wonderful shots and you're going to go and make these highly realistic looking lions and a warthog and a meerkat and hyenas and all that kind of stuff? Or are you going to include some people into it? Are you going to make it loosely based on the movie, like how The Lion King is loosely based on Hamlet, and you're going to find a way to include people into it? Or are you going to change the cast to have actual human characters? Like, what's the direction here? You can't just announce that you're going to make a live-action reboot of The Lion King. It's one of the... Like, The Lion King is one of those movies that's made for animation. You know, like, how are you going to go around that? But then again, those are the bad ideas. Like, this is why The Lion King might not be good. But at the same time, there are some things also that it could actually work out. This could actually be a pretty good idea, and we might actually come out with, at the very least, a worthy success, or not a worthy successor, but something worthy enough to be a remake of The Lion King that society will be accepting to this, like how they were with The Jungle Book. And speaking of which, that's pretty much why, because they're bringing in Jon Favreau onto the scene. And Jon Favreau was the director of The Jungle Book, which is hands down and almost undeniably the best, the best live-action reboot that Disney has made. It was the one movie that is almost on par, almost as good as the animated film it was based on. So Jon Favreau, you could definitely tell this guy highly respects the source material, and that is something that is completely lacking in all of the other movies, whether it be Alice in Wonderland or Maleficent or Pete's Dragon. I wouldn't necessarily count Cinderella. That one, well, it's faithful to the original story that it's based on. So, okay, so yeah, those 3 movies, like The Jungle Book actually pays respect. It knows what it's based on, and it wants to pay homage to it. It wants to say thank you. So at the very least, we know that Jon Favreau is someone that this movie will be in good hands with. Even though he will be busy, like I said before, this isn't the only project that he has working on. I mean, this is just at Disney alone that he has those projects with The Jungle Book 2 and now The Lion King. And on top of that, like, he also has some Marvel projects as well. Apparently, he's going to be the executive producer of the Infinity War movies. And also, this is not mentioning some of the other stuff outside of Disney. Apparently, he's going to be he's going to direct one episode for a Seth MacFarlane project, and also he's going to be making an appearance in Spider-Man Homecoming. But regardless, at the very least, we could be confident that it will be in the hands of Jon Favreau, and maybe the guy would like The Lion King as much as The Jungle Book. And even at that, you know what could be good, what could be a bit beneficial is that he could go and work with the people who have actually worked on it. With The Jungle Book, we're talking about a 50-year-old animated film, so most of the people who actually did work on it, most of them have actually passed away, other than like Floyd Norman, and that's it. With The Jungle Book, with The Lion King, he could still go back and he could talk with the people who did work on it. You know, like he'll talk with Rob Minkoff, he'll talk with Elton John and Tim Rice. He'll talk with the people that did work on The Lion King, and you know, they can actually aid him to go and make something resourceful. They'll go and make something that that does pay homage, that highly respects The Lion King. That could be a good idea. And on top of that, this is not even mentioning the actors. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a cameo with Matthew Broderick, Nathan Lane, Jeremy Irons, Roman Atkinson, all those people. Maybe they'll make a special appearance onto The Lion King, and maybe, who knows, like, they can actually bring in some people who were in the original film to reprise their role for this. Sounds crazy, but there could be a chance. And you know what's actually really funny about this? You know what's funny about this entire situation is that so many people are confused regarding this project. They're looking at it like, what? Why are they doing this? And like, everybody is just so unsure about the idea of rebooting The Lion King as this big budgeted live action film. You know what's actually really funny about this? Is that technically, we were all having the exact same discussion 20 years ago. If you guys remember back, this was back in the day when The Lion King was fresh out of theaters, and it was absolutely huge. Well, like, even though today you can argue that it is still huge, but like back then, it was like fresh, it was new, it was the Frozen of its time. And then they actually announced that they are going to make a Broadway musical based on The Lion King. And everybody, including the people who made the film, were looking at this going, what the fridge? I mean, never mind the fact about, bringing The Lion King into a live-action, big-budgeted feature film. Like, there are many ways that you can do it. But bringing The Lion King, this animated film that features nothing but realistic-looking animals, into onto live on stage. How the fridge is that possible? Are they going to do it like Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats? Or like, it was absolutely confusing and people lost their minds. They don't know how this would actually come out. But I'll tell you how it came out. Nowadays, The Lion King is one of the most beloved and longest running Broadway shows of all time. It was highly acclaimed. It was absolutely innovative with its use of puppetry and bringing an animated film like The Lion King onto the stage. It was absolutely gorgeous. I remember watching it, and it was absolutely fantastic, and it was in fact, I would even say that it's one of, if not the most beautiful Broadway show I have ever seen, next to The Phantom of the Opera, or even more. You know what? Okay, screw it. I'm gonna say it. It's the most beautiful Broadway show I have ever seen. It is glorious. So maybe it's going to be the same way with this. In fact, that would actually be a pretty crazy idea. That would actually be pretty cool if they would actually do something like the Broadway show and bring it to the big screen, where it's actually, instead of using like CGI animals and stuff like that, they would actually go and bring in human characters. They would actually have people, and maybe they could dress themselves up, like they would have these masks on top of their heads. It could be, that could be an interesting idea. They can technically have it be based more on the Broadway show than actually doing it based on the animated film. It's actually very interesting. But then again, we don't know the direction with what they want to do with it. We only know about the three things: that it's Disney's top priority, Jon Favreau is directing it, and that it'll be a musical, that they're going to bring the songs back onto the big screen. And a lot of people seem to be confused. They don't know what the direction is going to be. And then, of course, on Cartoon Brew, you got crazy old Amida Mitty, like, flipping out over everyone, getting mad over the fact that everybody's saying it's a live-action reboot, and he's just there like, no, it's not going to be a live-action reboot, it's an animated film, it's going to be animated because they're going to use CGI lions. The Jungle Book is an animated film after all. Everybody's wrong, and I am right. Okay, guys, calm the fridge down. We don't know if that's the direction that they're going to go. Maybe they'll actually do a Walking with Dinosaurs style animated film where they're going to shoot they're going to shoot the backgrounds, we're going to have that realistic backdrop, and then we're going to have some CGI animals. Maybe they're going to do that. Or maybe, like I said before, they're going to bring in some human characters. They are going to portray the character, they're going to portray characters like Simba, Zazu, Nala, Scar, and all those characters, Maybe they're going to do that as well. But everybody calm the fridge down. We don't know what the direction is going to be. Honestly, overall, the only thing I could say about this is for now, we just have to wait and see with what direction Disney is going to take it. Maybe they're going to do something that's more CGI heavy. Maybe they're going to do something that's more in line with the Broadway show. And maybe it's going to be a good idea. Maybe it's going to suck and they're going to heavily regret it. Who knows? We just need to wait and see. We don't even know if Disney would actually, if they would actually do this instead, or they would, maybe mid-production, they're going to just drop the ball and say that this project is canceled. We don't know. All we know is that this project has been announced. We know that Disney wants to do this with Jon Favreau as a musical. And I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. They announced it, and it can go in so many ways. So let's just be patient and see what Disney has to offer. Hey guys, this is Animat. I just want to remind you guys that this is just a little taste of what you can get with the Animation Podcast. This is not all of it. If you guys want to go and listen to the full episodes of the Animation Podcast, then allow me to show you some of the different ways that you can go. First off, you can actually go on the website that it is hosted on, Filmbook, so you can go directly onto there. You can also go and check out the official Filmbook Podcast YouTube page, so at least you don't have to go away from YouTube and you can listen to the podcast right there. But if you would like to listen on the go, like if you want to listen it to on your phone or on your iPad and all that kind of stuff, then you can listen to it on either iTunes or you can listen to it on Android. So those are all the different options, and if you'd like to have more info, then all you have to do is just check in the description down below. And with all that said, I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!